Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hello everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. I am so excited because I have a returning guest joining me today. She was one of the very first guests I've had on the show right all the way back when Right on Track started, and I'm so excited she's joining me again. Please welcome Linda Conway from Voice of a Woman. Hey Linda.
Hello to me. It is so good to be back. What a podcast this has, and the success you've had with it has been quite amazing. So it's just great to be back.
Oh, it's awesome having you back. I am still not completely, adjusted to how crazy the podcast has become. Like when I started, I was just like, oh, I'm going to sit down and talk to my friends. But the way that it picked up and the interest it's gotten, I'm still adjusting to that. And I'm still trying to manage a little bit because it was not expected, but I've been loving every second of the show. And I'm so excited you're joining me again. We're going to be chatting all about kindness, which is a very important topic, especially with the holidays coming up. And so before we dive into that, can you share with the listeners what you've been up to the past year and a half?
Well, where do I start? The past year and a half has been quite busy in many ways. I've had guest appearances on many radio stations in America. Someone was on holiday, and I did a radio show over there for a guest spot, which was really cool. I have a show on Blues and Roots Radio since then, which that's been a year. And also, speaking of Voice of a Woman, I actually just last week sang in the Bedford pub in London, my own songs that I'd written with two of my favourite singer-songwriters, which was quite amazing. That was quite spectacular. So yeah, Voice of a Woman is growing in many ways, and it's just great to be a small part of someone's journey into music or someone's journey into the confidence to pursue their music career, because it's a tough industry to be in. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I've loved seeing all of the exciting things that you've been doing, all the fun events that you've attended as well over the past year or so, and how you're expanding and doing Instagram lives with artists and, exploring different aspects of the industry. It's just like so exciting because you're one of the first that I connected with when I started. And so it's just been really awesome seeing how far we've come since like the winter of 2020.
You've done so much. Like you have done so much. I don't know how you find the time to do it all. Not only are you doing singing and releasing EPs, you're also trying to write novels and trying to find a literary agent. And those two things, like music and writing novels, they're not the easiest of categories, and they're not the easiest of jobs to crack. So that's some going to me now.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey on both. And now with writing my third book during National Novel Writing Month, has been crazy. I'm trying to write the whole draft in November, but I've been trying to find some time for myself as well. And yeah, I'm very excited to have you back on the show. So let's dive into our conversation about kindness. When I stumbled upon the quote that you're going to read, I got chills because it's so beautifully written. And so would you mind reading that?
I don't mind at all. There are two ways of spreading light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. And that is from Edith Wharton.
So beautiful. What does this mean to you?
Not to get too deep too quickly, but it's very profound in so many ways. Like, you're talking about kindness. To be the candle is the thing that you light up, and then the match is what you use to light that candle, and then the mirror would reflect that in an opposite way. See, I'm getting very philosophical as I go. There's so much to kindness. It's the person like whatever they're going through, to be kind in that moment, to reflect that kindness to someone, to then receive that kindness and to take that on board. So like it's you'd think kindness is something that could be so easy and straightforward to do, but when I'm thinking about this quote, it doesn't seem as straightforward, if that makes any sense.
It definitely does. That's kind of the approach I had as well. It's almost like when I think of a candle, right? I'm kind of envisioning somebody walking through maybe a storm. It's very dark out, and they're kind of like a beacon, right? Like they're the light. And I think my brain went to, especially today, there's so much negativity, so much darkness, and to be the light and to be the one to spread that positivity, spread kindness, bring happiness to other people, it takes a lot. And we'll chat about in a little bit how kindness is very small acts sometimes, but it takes a lot sometimes to be that person and be that light and to kind of carry that. And I love the mirror part as well, because I've kind of saw that as like, if someone's kind to you, you see that kindness and you reflect that back. So you take what you see and you give that to others. And I think kindness is one of those things where once you start to see it and once you start to show it, it's kind of like this energy that transfers and it makes you feel better, it makes the other person feel better. And it's just this spreading of light and reflection of light and positivity. And so I think the metaphorical language in this quote is so beautiful and it's definitely profound and it makes kindness seem more complicated, which I think it can be sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't think of kindness as profound as this, but when that quote, you look at that quote, and you also think, like I was thinking of it and think, what do I think about kindness? What does kindness mean to me? And I was thinking about family and friends, and then people you might not know. And it might be easier to be kind to your family and your friends because you know them, and it's so much easier, and you like them or you love them, and it's so much easier to be kinder to people you know and love. But it might not be so easy to be kind to someone that you don't know very well, or that you might not like, or that you might, that you might have some trouble with, or something. It might be more difficult to be kind to a stranger that you don't know because it's not part of, I don't know, it's just not a natural thing. And it just made me think of, to spread kindness is to spread it everywhere, not just within your own circle, if you get me.
Yeah, perfect. And when you were talking, my brain kind of went to a deeper interpretation of the mirror with, exactly what you're saying. It's easier to be kind to the people we know. And with the people who we don't know as well, we don't know their whole story. We have no idea what they're going through, and we don't know how much a simple hello, how are you doing today? Or, oh my gosh, I love your new song. Or, great job with your show if we're talking music industry. Or just like, I hope you have a great day. Or, I love your outfit. Like, whatever. Like, little comments, compliments. Because, like, going back to the mirror, if you look in a mirror, it's a reflection, right? You can't see behind it, it's not glass. So, whatever you're reflecting back is what's on the surface, which is really interesting because all we can do is be the best we can be outwardly to other people. We don't know what's behind, we don't know what's underneath or behind that mirror. We don't know who's behind that all the time. But just being the person to be kind no matter what is so important. And I think that that's something that we all can work on. Like, I consider myself to be a very kind person, but kindness is such a deep human trait that I think we all have room to grow and be better.
Yep, I think as well, like I I would consider myself a kind person and a nice person. But sometimes in that, some people can take that for granted, um, and they don't reflect it back, um, which can even be even more difficult. And then to be kind, still to be kind, because that's, I just think being kind to everyone is the only way we can survive this crazy world that we're living in at the minute, with wars and with like so many things that are happening to so many of different communities, be it lesbian, be it gay, be it black, white, woman, child. Like there's just so much hatred and violence going on in this world that some of us can't even comprehend. And I just think being kind is the only way to cope. But some people don't. Suppose not. Some people don't reflect it back. Like it can go out and it won't be reflected back, or you could be treated in such a way that you think your kindness to them and they hurt you back, which that's not how I see it working. Like the mirror reflecting should be the way it goes on, but sometimes something stops the kindness from traveling. But yeah, it's if people are kind to you, like that's it is something that should be. I mean, even in like simple places like workplaces, if someone doesn't like you in the workplace, they could make your life so difficult just because they don't like you. And it's not you've not done anything wrong. You could be trying to be so kind to them, but they just want to make trouble for you. It's things like that that just it's very profound altogether. And yeah, it's I think it just kindness is something that is not as straightforward and simple, and it's something that is very if somebody's kind in this world we live in and in difficult situations, it is such a superpower, I think, in one way. Um, and yeah, it's a lot. It's very complicated, really, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with your point about it's difficult if you're kind and you don't get that back. And I actually wrote a song that hasn't been released yet, and it's a new favorite of mine, and it's called Kind Heart. And I'm definitely going to record it soon for my new project I'm working on. And the first line in the chorus says, if it's true that kindness doesn't cost a thing, then why do I feel like I've spent everything? And I think that says so much because you can give so much, you can be so kind to others, and sometimes you don't get that back and you feel like you spent everything when it's like kindness is free. Like just do what you need to do to be a good person and be kind and all of that. But it takes a lot from you if you are kind to people who don't reciprocate that. And I think what I've tried to remember is that being kind and being a good person, that's just who I want to be. I want to go to sleep every night knowing that I'm a good person. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and know that the person looking back at me is a good person. And so sometimes I just need to focus on my own heart. And even if I don't get reciprocation and gratitude from other people, I know that I did the right thing and nobody can take that away. And so I think that being so nice can be hard because I've definitely been taken advantage of. My kindness has, and people think that, oh, she's so nice, like I can just treat her this way and she won't, like flip out and like be rude back or whatever, which was a big message in my new EP. It is what it is, especially with you get what you get, like giving so much and not receiving that back. But I think at the end of the day, I just want to be that good person, and it's definitely hard. Kindness isn't easy. Everyone says it's so easy, it doesn't cost anything, which it doesn't, but it doesn't cost anything in money or physical things, but it does cost emotionally and mentally sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying about it being a superpower because my kindness has been taken advantage of. And then when you try and say something, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you in such a mood? You're always kind, or you're always, it's. I don't want to use the word doormat, but like, sometimes you think, oh well, Linda won't mind. She's always kind, and you just think, no, wait a wee minute here. That's not how it works. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's if I care about what I'm doing and I care about being kind, so you know, but it won't always. I don't think it always comes back either. I don't think it's always reflected in a mirror, um, unfortunately. So I think it's where, like, I was spread my kindness in Voiceful Women, and there's so many places it's reciprocated and the gratitude comes back, and it's, but there's other places that it's not necessarily reciprocated or whatever way it's taken, but it's definitely kindness is definitely a superpower, and it's easy to be kind to those you know and love, but it's about spreading that kindness to where it's badly needed. Yeah, and I suppose not because you want something back as well as probably the other side of it. just to spread it. And if more people spread it, it could probably create a wildfire of kindness, which that sounds like the title of a song. Um, and that is what's needed. That kind gesture when somebody has a moment of need, that and then that pays it forward and pays it forward, and that's definitely what's needed in its truest sense of the word. Um, and it is definitely a superpower, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's so important to like look for the opportunities to be kind, right? Like the simplest things, or even like going out of your way if you see somebody struggling, if you can lend them a hand and just be that person if they need somebody to talk to. I think that there's so many people, me included, like I tend to deal with things on my own. I'm very introverted. I handle my emotions pretty well by myself. But I have some very close friends who know me well enough that, like, if I'm a little off, they'll be like, hey, like, I can tell that you're not yourself. Like, can we talk? And if I'm if you need anything, I'm here for you. And just things like that make me feel so seen because I'm not the kind of person who will go to somebody and be like, hey, I need to talk about this, because that's not really me. And so I always try to be aware of the people in my life and notice if they're struggling with something, if they just need to talk about something, or if they need clarity about something, just to be that person to help them and look for those open doors to spread that kindness. But I have a question for you that is really interesting. I want to hear your perspective on. Why do you think that it's difficult for some people to be kind?
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't think the answer is straightforward either. I think it could be. I don't want to say some people are just nasty. I don't want to say that because I don't know where the nastiness come from. Like if we take bullying, for example, we always say that um, people that are bully others are mean and nasty, but then sometimes whatever's going on in their family life, like there could be abuse in the relationship, or they could be sexually abused by someone, or they could be bullied by someone in authority, or all these things that could be going on in their family life that you don't know about in that moment. Um, and that could create someone not being kind. Because I remember there's a book called 19 Minutes by Jodie Picoult. Um, and that centres it around a school shooting in an American school, and she tells the tale of that situation, and then she goes back to the life of the young guy who did the shooting, and it is about all that, about how his family life was tormented, and he was tormented in school and being bullied, and not just emotionally bullied but physically. Um, so I think in those kind of domestic violence situations and war zones, and I suppose not being accepted or feeling like you don't belong or being humiliated by so many people, and all these things can sometimes eat away at people. And I think that's part of why they're not kind sometimes. I think life can be really nasty to some people, um, and I suppose how they cope with that. And I don't like, yeah, I think that's probably part of it. I don't think that's an easy question to answer. I mean, some people say some people are just mean, but I don't. I don't really fully. I would hope that that's not the case. Sometimes there is really evil deeds done by serial killers and things like that. Um, but like there is a lot of things that happen in people's lives and in the world that just mess with kindness or just take the kindness away that they could do. But then there's others that go through all that and they're still kind. They're probably even kinder because it's more of a strength then. Um, so yeah, that's a very hard question to answer.
I think you did a great job giving it a shot though, because I think it all comes down to just being kind to people because these people who aren't kind and have maybe things in their history that made them bitter and have a negative outlook on the world, if they would have people in their life who show them kindness and help them through things, help them find positivity and silver linings and heal, I think that the world would be a better place if there's more kindness. Because right now, it feels like there's more darkness and light, for sure. as far as I'm concerned in my own perspective of things. So I think more than ever now, being kind to people, because kindness, I think, can be contagious. If so many people are spreading it, it makes you feel better. It makes the other person feel better. It makes them feel seen. And I think that if we all try as hard as possible to take on a positive mindset, and even if we're struggling with things, being sure to outwardly be kind to other people and not, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Project our own personal struggles onto somebody else through being negative or mean to them. That's what we're dealing with in our personal lives. So we shouldn't reflect on other people. Um, I think that's really important to just try to be kind as much as possible because we need kindness today. And the final thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up is we've been talking about being kind to others and spreading that kindness as much as possible, as widely as possible. But we can't forget to be kind to ourselves. And this is something that I struggle with from time to time because I'm doing so much and I have so many ambitions and I have so many dreams for myself. I'm going, going, going. And sometimes I let situations get under my skin. Sometimes I get burnt out. And when that happens, my mental health can go downhill a little bit. And I just notice I'm not treating myself right. I'm not being kind to myself, giving myself breaks, and just recognizing that I'm human too and I can't overwork myself or feel bad about myself if something doesn't unfold the way I envisioned it and all of those things. So, what are your thoughts on being kind to yourself?
Well, you could have been talking about me right there and everything you just said. Everything you just said. I think that's probably one of the things I struggle with the most. I can be kind to everybody else apart from myself, whatever that is about. It's probably one of the hardest things to be kind to yourself sometimes because you can never have a break from yourself. You're always with yourself 24/7. And probably the best thing to be is kind. I suppose compassion is the other one, to be compassionate to yourself at all times because you are with yourself 24/7. And if you can't be kind to yourself, then who can you be kind to? Um, and yeah, I have struggled with that many, many times because I've tried to do things and I've tried to be kind to others. And if it's not reciprocated, I try harder. And it does affect your mental health. And you can get creates anxieties and just depending on the situations and the experiences and trying to belong to some community or whatever. Um, so yeah, that's a very good point, and I still struggle with that at times. I'm trying to learn. It's a slow learning process, very slow learning. Um, because if you meet someone that's not kind to you and you're not kind to yourself, and that kind of validates why you're not being kind to yourself, and it's like a vicious circle. Um, but it's very important, and I think that's probably something we should all try and do as well, is just to be kinder to ourselves and treat ourselves like we would somebody we truly deeply love, because that's where it probably starts. Everything starts at home.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, you said something in there that I think is fantastic. You said, like if you don't love yourself and you're not kind to yourself, I forget your exact words, but you said something along the lines of if you're not kind to yourself, how can you be kind to someone else? And I think that's a really great point. It all starts with us, and you're completely right. If someone isn't kind to you and you're not kind to yourself, that's validation for, maybe I don't deserve kindness, right? Like maybe I don't deserve to be treated well, and the way I'm treating myself is right, but it's not. I think that it takes a really long time to, get to a place of self love. I'm still trying to get there fully. And as we were talking about before, that, this is growth. This is a journey for everybody. If you're kind, it doesn't stop there. You're going to hit roadblocks and obstacles, and you're always learning, you're always growing. But I think just trying to remind ourselves that we have to be kind to ourselves first and foremost. And then if we're happy with ourselves and we're kind to ourselves, and that just creates inner positivity and makes it easier to be kind to others. If we're bitter and we're not happy, then it's really hard, I found, to genuinely show kindness to other people. So I think it's so important. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And I loved having you on for this chat. Before we go, what are some final thoughts you would like to share about kindness to wrap us up?
suppose I've learned from this podcast, in this very short podcast, that kindness is not as simple as I thought it was at first. Also, it does start with yourself, and as hard as it is to be kind to yourself, whether that's doing something you love, whether that's buying yourself a treat or going to a spa day or whatever, just do something that is just for you. Spending 10 to 15 minutes a day just doing something that's just for you and for you alone. And that's not selfish, that's being kind to yourself, and everyone needs to do that, because I think if we did that every single day and that became a routine, then that would spread wildfire, and everyone would be kind to everybody else, because we know how much it's needed. And it's so needed. It's something that's just so needed in this world today. And let's start with ourselves.
Absolutely. Linda, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. Wow. I'm so honored I had you back for this chat about kindness. Can you share with everyone where they can find you online and check out all that you do?
People can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Mixcloud. It's voice.of-a-woman on Instagram, voice_of-a-woman on Twitter, and voice of a woman 20, I think, on Facebook. But you'll find the logo. It's a red heart with voice of a woman in the centre of the heart. So you can find that. You'll find me everywhere. So hope you look me up and let's chat.
Fantastic. Linda, thank you so much again for joining me. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this incredible conversation with Linda all about kindness. And of course, until next time,
Stay right on track.